Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory, and this is The View from Out Here. Today, I want you to pay close attention because I'm going to teach you how to become President of the United States. A little background is in order. I graduated from Boys Town High School in Nebraska in 1970. I signed my yearbook, Future President, and I was looking forward to a life of public service, culminating, of course, in the Oval Office. Fortunately or unfortunately, as the case may be, it wasn't long before that idea faded into an endless 5-year party during which I repeatedly inhaled and experimented with other drugs as well. My experimentation was thorough and complete, to put it mildly. It was so thorough and so complete that by roughly 1975, there was no need to continue my research. Not only am I delighted that I got to have those experiences, I'm also proud of who I became as a result. I became the type of person who would never run for president. There are bigger and better things that you can do with your life, as Jimmy Carter and Al Gore are both living testimony. But that isn't the only reason my path swerved in another direction. Probably the most important reason for me is that to become president of the United States, there are certain things that you must give full-throated support and advocacy to, regardless of their merit, relevance, or truth. I have little to offer the world aside from my integrity as a person, but that's just me. If you should decide that you have any desire to campaign to become the president one day, let me give you a preview of your essential platform planks so that you can hit the ground running. See what I did there? Hit the ground running? Okay, first up, we have international diplomacy. You support Israel. You are on the side of Israel in any conflict in which they may be involved. I've dabbled in information about the various squabbles in the region since 1966 when I first joined the debate team. I certainly don't mean to trivialize the tremendous loss of life and livelihood and property in the area by calling them squabbles, but let's be honest. Violent unrest in the region surrounding Israel is hardly news. It's a constant part of life. Personally, I don't want to live anywhere enough to put up with that kind of constant. The U.S. has always come to Israel's aid, financially, militarily, and diplomatically. I've never completely understood the relationship, but when there are that many fights in the region with that many neighbors over that long of a period of time, the process of elimination might lead one to consider the possibility that Israel could possibly, maybe just a little tiny bit, be the problem. 42 years later, and I can't tell you who's right and who's wrong. It doesn't matter, though, because you support Israel as if they were the 51st state. Next, we have the war on drugs. Now, scientifically speaking, most drugs that we've come to know and use recreationally are relatively harmless the way they are commonly used, particularly marijuana. The horror stories that we read in the newspapers and see on the news are the exception rather than the rule of recreational drug use in America. They are uncommon enough occurrences to be considered newsworthy. Let's remember that recreational drugs is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Somebody's buying these drugs. The official war against them began in earnest in the Nixon administration and has consumed some 6 trillion, that would be trillion with a T, dollars of your taxes. Roughly a half a century later, those drugs that we have been fighting against this whole time are more readily available on the streets of your hometown right now than at any time in history. If ever there was a more expensive, less effective, more destructive way to go about solving this problem, we would have found it by now. Not even prohibition was this much of a failure, but it doesn't matter because you are a champion in the war on drugs. A champion, I tell you. Okay, the Second Amendment. Gun possession in the United States is a civil right. Fact. Notwithstanding how many crimes have been committed using them so far this year alone, notwithstanding the fact that gun violence in the United States claims more lives than in all other industrialized nations combined, all of them no exceptions. Notwithstanding the fact that more money is spent by the NRA to mobilize the electorate and the legislature against any attempt to adjust that right than any other single nonprofit organization in the world, notwithstanding the fact that the Constitution of the United States of America is a living document that can and has been changed if we so desire. Notwithstanding what the language of the Second Amendment actually says, none of that matters because you are a fierce advocate for the Second Amendment. Now, next is religion. Regardless of anything else that you might be, you are first and foremost a good Christian, and you espouse the teachings of Jesus Christ. They are the guiding principles of your decision-making process. If you happen to be a born-again evangelical Christian, so much the better. If you're a Muslim, a Catholic, or a Jew, you can still get to the Oval Office, but it'll be quite a climb. You're going to have to be pretty damn special to pull that off. But your preferred flavor of Christianity doesn't really matter. You are a Christian, and you are guided by good Christian values. Next, we have love of country. Patriotism is a cornerstone of your political platform. America is number one in all things. There are no exceptions. You are never in favor of burning a flag, regardless of the circumstances. You may get away with not objecting to somebody else burning a flag if you are very, very careful about how you do it, but you are never in favor of it. You must wear your flag pin on your lapel at all times while in public. It is the symbol of your love of country, and you are signaling your lack of patriotism if you should ever appear in public without it. Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Reserves, regardless of what military action U.S. troops may be involved in or how they came to be drawn into it, you are in support of the U.S. military. U.S. troops act with honor and distinction at all times and are to be honored and respected at all times. It appears that you can get away with a bit of material disrespect once you have become a veteran, particularly a wounded one, but I wouldn't try it. It's too risky. Regardless of the outcome of any U.S. military action anywhere in the world or in our history, U.S. troops are victorious. There are no exceptions. This includes Korea, Vietnam, and Iraq. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican candidate for president, these basics will be your foundation upon which you can build. From there, you can go pretty much anywhere you like, and I wish you the very best in your pursuits. My point here is that in order to become president of the United States of America, a man or a woman must demonstrate that they believe these basic things, regardless of any evidence to the contrary, regardless of their merit, relevance, or truth. You'll be called upon to believe these things enough to sell them to your constituents. We practically require anyone who aspires to our highest office to lie about something. We practically demand it. And if at some point in your administration we discover that you have in fact lied to us like we demanded that you do in the first place, we will punish you for it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm glad that my life took me in another direction, and I'm glad that it left me with an interest in those whose lives didn't. Citizenship in a democratic republic like ours is a messy business that requires participation. And you, dear viewer, are witnessing my participation right now. I have a lot of respect for those men and women who still want to be president, given the desecration of one's dignity and integrity that getting to the Oval Office now requires. I couldn't stomach it, but Godspeed to those who can. I want to help educate my fellow countrymen to think about ways we can change what we are now doing into something more productive, more humane, more respectful, and maybe even more loving. I want to live in a world like that, and I still believe that it is within our reach. So this is what I'm doing to help create it. Please do this for me. Well, actually for yourself if you want to get technical. While you're watching this election unfold, listen to what the candidates are saying and try to filter out what the media is telling you about what they're saying. Watch some C-SPAN or go online if you have to and watch the whole speech or event and turn it off when the commentator starts yapping about what you just witnessed and decide for yourself what you saw and what you heard. Think of it like You're a jury member, and the candidates are the defendants, and the media is their lawyers. In court, what a lawyer says is not evidence. Only the evidence, the testimony of the witnesses, and the facts before you are truly relevant to your verdict. Do this one thing in addition to your voting, and you will be participating in your democracy in a way that may change things for the better. You will be your local version of Jimmy Carter and Al Gore, doing something better with their lives than being president. Remember that because we live in a democratic republic, we have the government we deserve. We either put these folks in power or we allowed someone else to. We, you and I, have the authority to overthrow the government every 4 years without firing a single shot. It's called an election, and I say that we are capable of and deserve much better. That's what I have for you today. Please remember to like and subscribe, the little buttons down here. And someday I'm going to learn how to talk, I promise. And don't forget about my books back here. You'll find links to them in the description below as well. I want to thank you for watching today. My name is Gregory, and this has been The View from Out Here. Much love.